2025, all things considered, had a lot of highs and a whole lot of lows. But easily one of the best things about this year were all the shows and films that dropped. So in this video and my next, I'm just going to talk about all my favorites that were released this year, starting with the shows obviously. Even though I watched like a ridiculous amount of television this year, I didn't watch every show that came out. So if you see a show that you loved not here, maybe I didn't watch it, or maybe I just didn't like it, I don't know. Unfortunately, no Percy Jackson. I'm loving the season so far, but I don't think it dropped enough episodes in 2025 for me to place it somewhere. Maybe I'll make a video about the season later though. Also, no anime. If I included it, it'd be like maybe half my list. But these are my favorite 3 this year. Now cue that intro, Eloho. New year, same record. So if you've been enjoying everything I've been putting out, maybe hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Plus it's free, and we all love free stuff. Number 15, Bel-Air. A whole lot could be said about the handling, and honestly, really disappointing treatment that Peacock gave the show that kinda put it on the map. Like, before the monumental rise of Love Island USA, Bel-Air specifically, or them housewives if you like my sisters, really put the service on the map for most folks. But shoddy treatment aside, this final season really did a great job of finishing up a lot of the storylines from the previous seasons, and did a great job at specifically bringing Will's story full circle from the start of the show. Was the Jeffrey British mob stuff kinda dragged out this season? Yeah. Were there some pretty corny lines and scenes? Also yes. But in a lot of ways, that's kinda part of the show's charm. Number 14, Dusters. I had no clue what this show was gonna be about when I first clicked play. I'm pretty sure I just saw a tweet about shows airing with black female leads and just decided to watch it on a whim. Luckily this show was honestly just a really fun ride. Pun kinda intended. I love a good period piece, and I think both of the leads were really compelling characters. Unfortunately, HBO Max canceled it because they cancel everything I guess. But if you're looking for a fun one and done, give it a look maybe. Plus Keith David is in it, and everybody loves Keith David. Number 13, Stranger Things. I'm genuinely not even sure where to start with this one, but I think even before the season started, it was going to be a nearly impossible task to wrap up the plot lines of so many characters in a show that's this big, that's technically been around for like over a decade, in a way that would satisfy everybody. Honestly, there's a lot of issues with this season that I could just sit here and nitpick, but at least for me, the biggest issue I had with the season is just how safe it all felt. The stakes seem bigger than ever, but the actual pacing and tension isn't on the same level of that scale. Watching this, I've kind of just grown accustomed to none of the major characters actually being in real danger. A lot of the writing decisions were kind of baffling for me, and some of the acting this season was rough to say the least. But I think especially that final episode, mostly the second half of that, does a pretty solid job of wrapping up the stories for our main cast, especially those main core kids that we watched grow up as the show went along. As someone who was low-key just watching still for Max and Lucas, I definitely wasn't disappointed. Now there's definitely a conversation to have about just some shows overstaying their welcome, but I'll probably save that for another time. But I think for the most part, most folks won't be too disappointed with this finale overall, as long as they had realistic expectations for the show they were watching, I guess. LMAO, I was entirely wrong. The entire fanbase hated it, to the point where they all fell under some type of mass psychosis into thinking that there was a secret final episode that retcons the entire season's events. So just pretend I talked about Reasonable Doubt here. Yeah. Number 12. Long story short. It's not really common knowledge, but BoJack Horseman is far and away one of my favorite animated shows ever. So when I initially heard that the creator was releasing a new show, I was instantly hyped. Long story short was definitely one of the most emotionally resonant shows I watched all year. The non-linear timeline that the show is told to you in is super unique and allows you to really form a bond with the family like they're an actual real family. Number 11. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I kinda went into this show not wanting to like it, strangely enough. I love me some Spider-Man as much as the next guy, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the art style, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the voice actor for Peter's remarks about the show not being annoying and quote-unquote woke. Still, I ended up watching it, cause just because one voice actor is a dum-dum doesn't mean that all the other people who worked on this show should pay for it. Luckily for me, the show was really good, like easily the best Spider-Man show in like maybe 15 years. Also, I don't know what show he watched, but the show seemed pretty damn woke to me. It's basically a giant MCU Spider-Man what-if story, but the most interesting aspect to me is the show's deuteragonist Ronnie, and his parallel issues and struggles to Peter. But yeah, fun watch. Spectacular Spider-Man is still better though. Number 10. Fiona and Cake Season 2. It's still pretty wild to me that a one-off gender swap episode from like 15 years ago kinda expanded into its own thing entirely. If season 1 of this show was focused on growing up and finding your place in the mundane adult world, season 2 digs even deeper, with themes like dealing with trauma, the messiness and complexities that come with life in your 20s and early 30s, and just not feeling like you're good enough. But it still keeps that feel we all know and love from Adventure Time at the center. I love how messy of a character Fiona is this season. Like, she was getting slandered online in ways I hadn't seen since Prime Korra. But I think those flaws really help and make her a more realistic character. I also think the addition of Huntress Wizard was a pretty great choice too. Number 9. Peacemaker. You know, if I made this video at like any point before Peacemaker aired its finale, there would have been a pretty high chance of this show ending up in my top 5. I don't think the finale necessarily ruins the season for me, or was even bad when you detach it from the rest of the show. But honestly, because of how James Gunn kinda hyped the episode prior, I guess I just expected a bit more. Like, bro really made it seem like the most craziest shit was gonna happen, where in all honesty, it was just a very character-focused episode. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. The season on its own was still super fun to just watch everything play out. I think this season compared to the first went even deeper into the cast of characters, especially in Chris's case, who was really pushed as far as they basically could until the credits hit. I also can't wait to see how the events at the end of the finale tie into the overarching story of Man of Tomorrow. Number 8. Paradise. I kinda went back and forth in my head with the order of shows 8 through 5, so I honestly wouldn't look too deep into the order, to be honest. I think if you're just talking about quality and not like any personal biases, then Paradise is easily at the top of the list. The story and world that we the audience are thrown into is just so engaging, down to all the small details in it. Also, Sterling K. Brown is literally given like the performance of a lifetime. I seriously can't wait for season 2 to drop and see where the story goes from there. Number 7. Welcome to Derry. As someone who hadn't watched the It films going into this show and only knew the director from his work on the Flash movie, I was super surprised with how much I enjoyed Welcome to Derry. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of comparing shows, but it's kinda hard not to with this show and a certain other show on my list. This show really gave me a lot of what I was missing with this latest season of Stranger Things. The story was written so tightly, and the stakes are so high at all times, to the point that when I'm watching, I quite literally mentally prepare myself for any character to die until the show shows me otherwise. I also just think it does a really great job of fleshing out its central characters, from the adults all the way down to the kids. There was a few parts that had me on edge just a little bit, but I'm a pretty big horror fan, so I wouldn't necessarily say the show was scary for me. Maybe if certain parts had better CGI. I think my only real gripe with the show, and it's gonna sound pretty strange, but I kinda expected more deaths, I guess. Especially after the events of episode 7, The Black Spot. It didn't sit all that well spiritually with me, that what happened there didn't have any consequences for those who did it. If you know, you know, but I was really expecting Big P to just slime out a few more people before the show ended. Number 6. Forever. This show low-key resonated with me like so deeply. I think because the year that the show takes place, I was quite literally the same exact age as the two main characters. So in a lot of ways, it really felt like I was transported back to my senior year of high school. The music, the fashion, the relationship drama, the feeling of not quite yet being sure of what you wanted for your future. I think both leads are just so damn compelling to watch, especially as they work to figure out their messy lives and their relationship. Justin particularly might be one of the most real depictions of a character on the spectrum that I've ever seen in a television show. Number 5. Severance. Bro, when I tell you that I literally watched both seasons of this show in the span of like 3 days last month, because I knew I needed to watch it for this video. And luckily for me, the show did not disappoint me at all. This show was like so damn engaging, like I couldn't stop watching if I tried. Because I watched them literally back to back, I think I noticed that season 2 is a little slower, but once it gets going, it doesn't stop. The overarching mystery in this show is really compelling, and in season 2, you really get to dig deeper into the supporting cast and their lives and wants in the world. Number 4. Gen V. Gen V and the boys' universe as a whole continues to impress me. This season had a lot to deal with the events of the first season's finale, the previous season of The Boys, directly leading into the final season of The Boys, as well as the tragic passing of Chance Prodromo, who played Andre in the show. and I think it handled all of that about as well as they could have, while still telling its own unique story. Even though he's not there physically, the writers still managed to keep Andre as a pivotal focal point of the season. The season also just delves deeper into themes like resistance and trauma, but also deeper into the history and workings of this universe. Number 3, All Her Fault. My top 3 shows are all fairly interchangeable, but this show, maybe more than any other on this list, grabs your attention and never lets it go for all 8 episodes. This is easily one of the most compelling mystery series I've seen in like a minute, and the more and more you learn about these characters, the crazier and deeper this show seems to get. This cast is just like really stacked, like all the actors are giving crazy good performances. Especially my girl Shiv Roy. Like if Sarah Snook doesn't get nominated for an Emmy, I'll actually lose my mind. But definitely give it a watch if you got Peacock. Number 2, Invincible. If you know me, then there'd be no shock to see this high on my list. I've loved the character since I watched Comic Drake's video on him like almost a decade ago maybe, and the comic's been my favorite since I read it during quarantine. Like a lot of fans, I'd been waiting like crazy to finally see the Invincible War animated, and it definitely didn't disappoint. But this season, you also really start to see Mark as a character progress, both in strength and his relationship with the other characters. But you also start to see him turn into a more morally gray character. Like usual, all the voice acting was great, and I know folks like to clown on the animation in Invincible a lot, myself included, but for the most part, the animation this season was really great, especially in those big fights. And at number 1, Common Side Effects. I can't even lie, when I clicked play on this show for the first time, there was no thought in my mind that this would be anywhere on my list, let alone number 1. I deadass just needed some background noise as I did my homework. But yet, here we are. Common Side Effects is genuinely everything I could ask for in an adult animated series. Relatable characters, a complex story and themes, emotional weight, a unique visual style, and great animation. It's also just super topical for a lot of stuff that was happening while it was airing. I'm trying my best not to go too in-depth in any of these, but especially in the case of Common Side Effects, I genuinely think this is a great watch to go in completely blind with. Like literally, if you have any interest in animated shows, do yourself a favor and watch this before the second season comes out. I promise you it won't disappoint you. Yeah, so I guess that's my list. Appreciate all of you who made it to the end of one of these once again. Even though I was more critical of some shows on here, I really gotta emphasize that I enjoyed every show that made this list. Honestly, there's so many shows I wish I could have talked about, but we deadass be here all day. Not gonna lie, I don't know what was going on with my brain when I was writing this, but I completely forgot that I watched the 3rd season of Reasonable Doubt this year. That definitely would have made my top 10 if my brain wasn't malfunctioning until I started editing. But definitely let me know what some of your favorite shows were this year, down in the comments. I couldn't watch everything, so I'm like genuinely curious. Also remember to like and subscribe while you're down there, and I'll see you guys next time.